Now to tonight's special report and the journey of 6 Australian parliamentarians who recently went to the refugee camps in Lebanon and Jordan to see firsthand the impact of the war in neighbouring Syria. More than 5 million Syrians are currently registered as refugees in the Middle East. Turkey has taken in most of them. More than 3 million Syrians fled there. More than 1 million have taken refuge in Lebanon, and Jordan has accepted 600,000 people. For Australia, the crisis is thousands of kilometres away, but the government has committed $220 million over the next 3 years to the humanitarian efforts. So the politicians went to see how that money is being spent and whether we should commit more or less. Political reporter Ashlyn McGee travelled with the group.
Hello. There we go. Testing.
6 Australian parliamentarians. 6 very different political perspectives.
Australia's been a really poor global citizen.
We don't need you. Go back to where you come from. We take enough. That's the sort of thing I think is the worst thing you hear.
I think that you've got to be pretty desperate to uproot your entire family.
I don't actually think that refugees are a divisive part of our community.
There are views where people don't necessarily feel comfortable about refugees.
I expect we are going to see great suffering.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Queen Alia International Airport.
The 6 parliamentarians have flown into the heart of the Syrian refugee crisis. Wedged between the most volatile of neighbours, Jordan's a safe haven.
It's having a huge impact on Jordan. The scale of the crisis is something that people need to understand.
The Gates Foundation's brought me and these MPs here. It's a conversion drive to turn the true believers and the doubters into foreign aid advocates.
Their wishes, yes.
Often it's just safety.
I've lost every relative, every friend, my uncles, my cousins. It was a bombing.
About half of Syrian refugees are children. Some spoke of being raped or being forced into marriage in their early teens, of hard labour and of the brutal violence they'd witnessed.
These people have, for the most part, suffered extraordinary trauma.
Most Syrian refugees here in Jordan don't actually live in refugee camps. About 80% of them live here in Amman, and that's creating a whole nother set of problems. It's the same in Lebanon. High unemployment, a lack of schools, strained healthcare and rising rents.
So 10 in this room?
Yes, they sleep here and they eat here.
Rent is more than $600 a month. The roughly 1.5 million Syrians in Lebanon are squatters without official refugee status.
Nice to meet you.
In informal camps east of Beirut, there are no toilets, no drainage and little hope.
I'm so sick here. It's making me sick.
The stench sticks to your skin.
The situation is hard. My situation is really hard.
Bahia and her young family have no home to go back to in Syria. It costs the UN and other agencies about $4 billion a year to look after Syrian refugees in formal camps and makeshift homes dotted around the region. But it's a band-aid solution to a crisis now well into its 7th year, and money and empathy are running dry. Australia does fund projects here, and we're upping our total refugee intake to 19,000. But that's minuscule compared to the support offered by Syria's neighbours.
There's lots of surprise me. I think it tests us about what we as a country are going to do.
As a government MP, Tim Wilson has sway. The others are lobbying from across the chamber.
Families have stuck together, the kids are playing, even though they've come through terrible circumstances.
It really is very, very confronting. And I've got to be honest with you, I think that's more pronounced since I've become a dad.
I've never opposed foreign aid, so I think that it gives me an absolutely first-hand knowledge of how it works.
Just the scale of what we're all trying to deal with here and the difficulty of, providing services and support.
The human nature of this crisis really needs a fairly forceful advocacy response.
The horrors of the Syrian conflict have united this group in a way no political party can. Ashlyn McGee, ABC News, Jordan.